Christmas. I know that a lot of people were not able to get together with friends and family and spend that quality time that we're used to, but I thank God that you guys are hopefully healthy, hopefully doing well, hopefully got to at least see your family virtually. I know yesterday I was able to spend some time with some family members, and listen, we had fish, some grits, fried some french fries. I know it wasn't the normal Christmas that we're all used to, but at least we're blessed to be able to see this part of the year. I know it's been a difficult year for everyone, so I'm trying to be joyful and look ahead to the coming new year. Thank you all for subscribing to my channel, and thank you for those who have saw this video and decided to click on it and see what the heck I'm talking about. If you hear some random outbursts coming from my video, I apologize ahead of time. My nephews are currently in the living room playing a new game they got for Christmas, and it's currently a war between them, so sometimes it's just some loud outbursts, but I've hidden in my sewing room, taking some time for myself to be able to make this video and to get into some sewing, and I'm super excited about it. I know people are saying, hey, she's been showing the same video in the same garment for the last couple weeks, and that's because I am a wife. I help take care and mentor kids. I have a career that is very demanding, and I have a sewing business. So on top of all of those things, trying to get all those things done, I try to notch out some time for myself to be able to sew for my own wardrobe and for those things that I want to wear. So there are a lot of times that I don't get the opportunity just to sew for the pleasure of it, and the videos I'm posting on my YouTube are videos that are about me sewing for myself personally. I'm hoping in the new year that I'm able to do more videos and get more garments out for my personal wardrobe. That is my goal for 2020. I want to change up some things in my wardrobe. So I have put together a lot of sewing plans, and I may do a video on what those sewing plans are. I plan to share more videos about me sewing with the golden rule, because so far it definitely has been an exciting journey that I think I'm going to continue. I'm also going to do some videos about me sewing with my own patterns. I do make my own pattern from time to time, depending if I'm sewing for myself and I see something I can't quite find the pattern that I want, or if I'm sewing for a client and I have to create a pattern just for them. So I'm also going to do some videos about garments I'm going to sew from the Big Four. I'm super excited for 2020. I'm super excited to hopefully spend some more time in my sewing room. You just never know. So I am currently working on this garment. It is from the Golden Rule. It is the blouse. It is pattern number 1. If you are trying to say what is the Golden Rule, I definitely have some videos about the Golden Rule. So go back, watch the other videos, and come back and sew with me. I have finished the muslin. The last video I did was about the muslin to this pattern, and I made some changes because it just didn't fit right, and it wasn't a horrible fit. So let me just say that it wasn't a horrible fit. There's some areas that I am self-conscious about, so I want a garment to fall a certain way when I wear it. So I wanted to go back and fix that. I made some changes to it. I put a dart under the arm, and I looked at it when I put on my muslin. I was like, don't like it. So I'm going to post my muslin right here so you can see it. As you can see, it's finished. I didn't do any of the facings. I didn't do any hemming. It's just for fit purposes. And I did lengthen it some, and I increased some of the fabric around my waist area because it was a little tight there. But besides that, I didn't have to do a lot to it, which that's what I'm looking for when I'm doing a pattern, that I can hack it if I want to. But as far as changes for size wise, I don't want to have to do a lot to it. So I'm getting ready to actually cut out my pattern and be able to put it to the garment and be able to sew it up. So this is what this video is. It's a sew along. I am using this fabric. I talked about this fabric in a earlier video. I received this fabric from Mood. I have it in the 100% cotton, and I also have it in a satin teen. The satin teen, I'm actually going to use it for the jacket involving this pattern, but for this I'm using, I want to say it is 1.5 yards that I got from Mood, and it is their Mediterranean, I think it's Mediterranean, I'm not sure. I'll put it up here exactly what it is, but I know I've talked about it in the past video. I went ahead and I pre-treated it, and if you want to know about pre-treating, there's lots of videos. It depends on the fabric. For this one, I just went ahead and I washed it how the instructions give on Mood's site, and it's ready to be cut. So this is done. I also went and looked at my pattern to make sure I had all of my supplies. So this particular pattern, if you look right here, this is pattern number 1. It has 5 pieces to it. So it has the front piece, the back piece. It also has a front facing for under the arms, a back facing for your armhole, and then it has a front cut facing. So for this pattern, there is actually a keyhole right in the front, and it takes a button, so I flying everywhere. So I chose my button that I wanted to use. I'm going to use a 1/2 inch button. Now I will tell you guys about the golden rule. It is in centimeters, and I know that is different for those of us who are in the US. We use inches for everything. So I definitely have been looking up different conversions to centimeters, inches, if I don't know exactly what that size is. I also have my zipper that is ready to go. So the only thing I need to do now is cut out my fabric. And I'm also going to do interfacing for all of my facing pieces. So just to give it a little bit more, to make it a little bit more stable. It's a very lightweight interfacing, and it is iron on. So it's fusible, excuse me, and it should be very easy to do. So if you're going to take the time to sew along with me for this particular garment, like I said, it's from the Golden Rule. It is pattern number 1. It is the blouse, and I'm going to take you on this journey with me. Take the time, cut out your pieces, and I'll be right back. Hi guys, I hope you had time to cut out your pattern. I actually made a mistake when I made the first part of the video. There are 6 pattern pieces. So this is the back. This is the front. Both of these were cut on the fold. There is a ruffle piece that goes for your neck in this pattern. So I actually cut 2 pieces of it because I don't want you to be able to see the back side of my fabric. So I'm actually going to sew these 2 pieces together to make that ruffle piece. You have this piece which goes, it is a front facing because there is a, well, it makes a keyhole using a button in the front of the shirt. You have your back arm facing, and what I did for these is that I put interfacing into it, but I took out the seam allowance. I said seam allowance for it. So this is your back armhole facing, and then this is your front armhole facing. So go ahead. I hope you got all your pieces together. You cut out all the pattern pieces. You did your interfacing, and we're gonna get started sewing. So the first thing you want to do is, this is my front. There is instructions on sew A together, A together. I've been sewing for a while, so some of this I didn't need to know. But when you look at it, this is my front piece. This is my back piece. I am going to pin the sides together, right sides facing. If I can get it where I want it. Yep, right there. Got my pins. I know if you watched my muslin video that I did not use any pins in that video because it was just a fast sew. But I do encourage you, especially if you're a beginner sewer, to use pins because they will make sure everything lines up. I did not worry about if the flower pieces lined up perfectly in this one because I'm gonna be honest, it just wasn't that serious to me. So I did do 5/8 seam allowance. So when you do cut this pattern, remember that when you cut the pattern for the golden rule, that there is not seam allowance included in the pattern. You just make the pattern and you have to add your own seam allowance. So I'm using 5/8 of an inch. I actually was able to find some thread that matched really good with the main color of my fabric. Back stitch.
I'm a little OCD, so I do stop a little bit more frequently than most people because I want to make sure that all my stuff is lined up.
And then you want to back stitch. Okay. Grab some scissors and cut off excess thread. I do this going along because I don't want to get to the end of my project and see all this thread everywhere, so I cut that off. So that one's done. We go to the other side. Now when you get to this side, you are going to have a marking that is where your zipper is supposed to stop. So my marking is right there. Okay. So I am actually going to start, and now there's different videos out there on how you can put in a zipper. I'm going to show you how I put in my zipper, but I'm going to start there. And when I do it, I'm actually going to back stitch a couple times because I want to reinforce that area. And I should have put pins in there. Didn't think about it. Like I said, I don't always use pins, especially when it's pretty much a straight line. But back stitch. Back stitch when you get to the end. All right, so now that I have both my sides together, I'm actually going to go ahead and use my serger before I press. Serger's right there. I do this because it's easier. I can just turn and go. So I have the serger on the settings I want. I do have white thread in because that's what I used for my last project, and I'm being honest, I'm just lazy today and I don't want to change it. If I was doing this for a client, I would, because I would want my thread to match my thread for my serger, but it's just for me. I'm not gonna complain about it. So I'm gonna start a little ways down. Now, I will let you know, for some reason my serger doesn't have a light on, and I have not been able to figure it out. I probably need to change the bulb, but haven't got there yet. But I'm going to start a little ways down on the side that I'm going to put my zipper in. Now, I didn't start at the same spot that I started on the zipper side because I do want some space to put in my zipper, and then I'm going to cut it off. So that side serged, and then I'm going to go and do the other side. Or you set it away. All right, so that is side serged. Now, I am actually going to go ahead and, since I'm already sitting here, I'm going to go ahead and do my shoulder for the shirt. So you want to put right sides together. Get you about 2 pins to put in place. And this is a really, it has nice details to it, but it's a very simple shirt that should give like a beautiful drape when it's done. So 5/8 of an inch. Now, because you created your seam allowance, you do not have to use 5/8 of an inch. You can use what works for you. I do because that's what I'm used to by now. And then make sure that you're back stitching when you start your seam and then when you end. You get all those threads off. Okay. And then you go and you do the other side. This is my first actual sew along, so I am not used to people looking at me when I'm sewing or me explaining what I'm doing. Most of the time I'm in my sewing room, I got music on, we jamming. I would love for you guys to put in the comments, what do you do, like what do you listen to when you're sewing? Are you watching movies? Are you listening to music? Are you catching up on some of your shows? Are you talking on the phone? I've done all of that. One day I'm watching Christmas movies, especially in the season. Some days I'm catching up on Bones. Other days I'm on the phone talking to my sisters. So it always depends on the when and where. So I got that also done. So I'm going to go ahead and
use my serger.
on both sides of the shoulder. And you're like, Jermaine, that looks a lot, looks very big. I'm a big girl, so it takes a lot of fabric. Okay, so now that I have all of that done, I am going to take it to the ironing machine. I'm going to take it to the ironing board. I'm going to give all the seams a very good press, and then we'll be back to do the facings and the zipper. Stay tuned. Okay, so now that we got our pressing done, I pressed all of the seams, so both shoulder seams and side seams. The next step we're going to do is work on the neck. So the pattern calls for slight gathering of the neck, and there's also a neck facing piece that is going to create a ruffle. So what I want you to do is pull out a significant portion of your thread, you want to take your thread to the highest length position. So the highest that you can do for my machine I have, it is a 0.5. So for doing gathers on a normal day, I would actually use a gathering foot if I needed to do a lot of gathering, but this is just very small. So I'm going to do once around the whole part of the neck, and I'm going to do this a half an inch. And like I said in other videos, I am definitely not an expert when it comes to making clothes or sewing or any of the sort, but I have been sewing long enough that I kind of created my own little shorthand to doing things. So my techniques probably are not what they should be, especially when you go to school for this, but it is what I use to be able to function. So when you get to the end, you also want to pull some thread out. Okay, so once you do that, I'm going to go back and I'm going to do another gather, another stitch for gathering, and I'm going to do that 5/8 of an inch. And then once again, you want to leave some thread at the end so you can pull. All right, so what you're going to do, let's scoot it back so I can show you. You're going to take your 2 top threads. So, okay. And then you're going to pull. So when you're pulling, I'm not pulling because I want really tight ones. I want to take this and spread it out. So you're going to pull so slightly and then spread, because you're wanting this to go all the way around your neck. Okay, so you see that? And it creates a gather. Some people call it a ruffle. This is actually a gather. What I'm going to do for the top piece is going to be a ruffle. So go through. And I've said this in other videos that normally if I'm going to do a lot of gathering, I'm going to use my serger and a gathering foot. So if I'm working with tulle or anything like that, and really, to be honest, I can do it with the ruffle that we're going to do, but it's not a super long piece. So I'm not overly worried about it. Now I am going to leave my end a little ungathered because I still have to sew the buttonhole, and the facing for the front. So I don't want it too, like I don't want it all the way, I don't want this, okay? You want to make sure that you're spreading it out evenly. And it's going to take some time. You don't rush through it. And just spread it evenly and keep moving them, and it keeps, keep the pace. This is one of the things I'd like to do to music because I feel it takes a little time and I'm a little impatient and don't like a lot of quiet. You're like, Jamesh, you're doing it tight. You said don't do it tight. Well, I'm doing it and I'm spreading it out. Okay, so it's tight at first, but I'm going to spread it out evenly so that it can go around the whole neck. Now, this is a thing. Once I put the ruffle on here, it's also um, it's going to use some gathering, but I'm not going to do a whole lot, as I said, on either piece. So it's just a light gather. All right. So we're done with that. So what you do is you leave this in and you go to your next piece. Now, as I told you guys before, what I did for my piece is that I created two. So 1, 2. The pattern itself calls for 1, but I wanted 2 because I wanted to you not to see the wrong side of my fabric. So what I'm going to do, I'm put right sides together. And I actually am going to sew 5/8 of an inch. All right, so with that, I'm going to understitch. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to change out my foot. So I'm gonna change this out. And when you do that, it's just depending on what machine you have. I have a Brothers, it's a Project Runway special. I'm obsessed with Project Runway. It's just the back of it. It's a little black thing on the back of it that you push. And then to change it out, just put it under there and you put it down. And the reason why I want to understitch is because I want it to fold down nicely. So when I go to don't you hate when you get small threads from your fabric everywhere? I do. Pull that out. All right. So I'm going to place it where I want it to make sure and on this one you can back stitch. I'm just going to follow the guide that's on my foot. So you're like, why did you need to do this? So when I turn it down, because I'm going to press it, it's going to create a very nice crisp crease, and it'll help it stay in its place. So what I'm going to do now, I am going to take it to the machine. I'm going to give it a really good press, and then I'm going to come back to attach it. All right. So I was able to press that. It's nice. Okay. So this is going to be my wrong side where I have the understitching, and this is going to be my right side. So I am actually going to do change my foot first. So the pattern calls for this piece also to be gathered. It causes a ruffle. So you're pretty much adding a ruffle to the collar. So I'm going to do what I did last time with the gathers. Pull this out. Pull this. Okay, give me a good piece. Change it to the longest stitch. And I didn't have to use any kind of pins for this because I just got through ironing it, so it's pretty much going to do what it's going to do at this point and stay together. All right. Now, for the sake of time, I'm not going to go back and do a second one like I did in the first one. But I'm going to pull one string and just make it a ruffle. Now, because I already measured my neck with this, I know it's not going to be like a lot of ruffle to it. But if you want to add some more, it's a pattern. Like I always say, rules are made to be broken most days. So, especially patterns. I don't know if it applies to everything else in life, but if you don't like something in pattern or you feel that they should have added something to it, the pattern provides you a blueprint, but that blueprint always could be changed to what you want and what you think you should have. So I keep pulling that loose. And I'm really doing a tight ruffle because it is easier to get it through. But it's not going to be this tight once it's finished. And I put it on the neckline. All right, so I got it to the end. So your determination once you get the ruffle in there is going to be put it on your neck. So they do have lines to tell you where everything is supposed to stop, and start. So I want right sides together. I had to look and see what my right size was. And you're going to pin. Actually, before I do that, let me look. Because my facing for my front, I just thought about that. I need to put that in. And this is, I guess, the downside to not having instructions. You think about these things. So let me go ahead and put that in because that's important. So this is for my front facing. So right sides together. And like, why am I going to do this now? Because if I can go ahead and turn it down and turn it over. Okay, I gotta pause and think about this. Yeah, I want to encase. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to finish one part of it. So I'm gonna put it back together. This is the good, the good and bad about not having instructions. So I'm gonna clip, make some little clips there. So that's gonna show my top, and this is gonna show where it needs to be placed on my front. So with that in mind, I'm actually going to go ahead and I don't know which one I want. I'm going to go ahead and finish my bottom and my side to that facing. So to the front facing. And you're like, Jamise, what are you talking about? So once I sew the front facing, this side and the bottom are going to be showing because I'm going to put the bottom and this side is going to be connected to my shirt. So that's the best way I can explain it. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this under and turn the bottom under so it'll finish nice. And I am using a hemming foot. I'm using the 4. And that's why that's why it's always good to have this around. So I just take it and I poke it under and get it situated so I can start it. Oh my gosh, it does not want to get in there tonight. Okay, there we go. Okay. And this is the side that is going to be showing under my shirt. So back stitch. So then that's what that looks like. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing to my bottom. So all right. So what you want to do after this is go ahead and where you have your little notches that I put in there. They don't have notches on here, but I would advise you to make notches because it will make it easier to know what side goes for what side. Line up your notches on your garment and put in your front facing.